Don't stop.
Hi, I'm Zach Randall-Friedman, and you are listening to Everything and Anything and a Bit Gay podcast. I always think, I need to change the intro. I feel like I say the same thing over and over and over. So that was different in case you didn't know. I have an amazing guest today. His story is one of the more unique stories that I've heard. But before I get into him, I always have a but. I got to tell you what I did yesterday. Yesterday, I did my second... So I bought a package of 3 from the med spa down the street from my house. And I did a package of 3 microneedling. So Chris Gibson, who is a guest on my show, he has hundreds of thousands of followers, if not millions at this point, on YouTube. He does holistic skincare and has products, and he's really great. I've had him on my show twice. I watch his YouTube videos about products he recommends, and I buy them. And a lot of them I really like. He has a line of vitamins that I purchase, and they're part of my daily supplements, which are here. You can see I have a million supplements that I take every day. Collagen and fish oil and some other skin, I don't know, multivitamin, a B12, K12 or something. I don't know. I take a lot of vitamins. All that being said, because yesterday, as I continue to want to not look my age, I do skincare routine things some of them are crazy. There was this cream that I bought, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago, and I don't even know where I got it from or who told me about it, but it was supposedly they take the circumcision skin from babies, and they take that because it has, I guess, all these great cells or whatever is they get from it, they extract from it, and they put it in skincare cream. And then it's supposed to, help you look younger. So, and I told my aunt about it. She's like, you're putting, oh God, that's just so weird to even say. You're putting baby dick skin on your face, which in a way I was, but it's not really. It's very bizarre. But people do vampire facials where I've done that before, where they take your blood and they spin it or something, and then they take the blood and put it in your face, and it's supposed to take the platelets or something. So I did. So yesterday, I bought a 3-pack of this, and I did my second session yesterday where I do microneedling. So if you don't know what microneedling is where they take this pin, and I think it's got 20 needles, and they go all over your face. They have to numb you for 30 to 45 minutes because they're putting thousands of needles in your face in a half hour. But the first time I went in, I just paid for the microneedling. She goes, you should do the add-on package. I'm like, what's that? She goes, it's salmon sperm. So, okay, I've heard about it. I did it, and my face the next day, and you have to also sleep with the salmon. So you do your microneedling. It's a half hour, 45 minutes to numb you. It's about 40 minutes, let's say, to do the microneedling. They do your neck and everything too. And then you leave there, and the salmon sperm is still in your face, and you have to sleep with it. So last night, and I have to say, at some point, when you get a sunburn, so my face looks a little sunburned today. If you're watching the video and not listening to the audio, my face looks a little sunburned. Not horrible though, and there's a couple little red marks on my face. You can't put anything on your face but this stuff that they gave you. I can't put any you can put SPF in on, I think, tomorrow, but today I'm not even supposed to go outside in the sun at all. And then you can put some things in your face on the 3rd day, and by the 4th day you can start putting more traditional stuff in, but you have to avoid retinol and vitamin C for a full week. And so I have to just remember that, because I have a lot of little serums and magic potions I put all over my face. But I woke up this morning and I forgot that I had this salmon sperm in my face all night, because you're supposed to get into your face. And I'm talking to my aunt this morning, and I went to the bathroom. I was going to go get ready for the day. And I looked in the mirror and my face was so red. I'm like, oh my God, I look like I have a horrible sunburn. I'm like, oh my God, I still have salmon sperm in my face. She goes, you what? So it was quite an interesting story. Um, just part of my daily life of trying to be Benjamin Button and age backwards, I guess. Who knows? Um, it's like I went to this med spa yesterday and they told me all these other things I could do to continue to have good skin. But I have to say that I get compliments on my skin since I've got this first microneedling more than ever. And it makes me feel good that I don't look my age. At least I don't think I do, unless people are just telling me I maybe look young and I really look like I'm 10 years older than I am or something, but who knows? Anyway, my guest today, his name is Tim. He has such, I'm going to call it a gift in a way. And the reason why I say that is because, well, would I call it? I'll call it a gift. Tim's wife died, and I don't want to tell too much of his story because I want you to hear it from him, but he's able to communicate with her. And he wrote a book about it. So if you're interested in learning more about his story, he tells a really good story about his wife and about the experiences he's had. And it made me really think, like, if my husband died, would I really want him coming back and talking with me or being there with me that he's dead? And I don't know if I would. Like, I feel like I wouldn't be able to move on without him in my life if I knew he was coming to talk with me all the time. Or I'd feel guilty that if I did, which I don't think I ever would want to date anybody again, but would I want to date somebody, like, and I know that he's there? I guess he would approve the person because he's talking to me. Tim's story is fascinating. Listen to it. Leave me a DM on my Instagram, The Real Zachary, and let me know what you think about his story. I bought his book. It's downstairs. I have a whole stack of books I'm going to read this summer because my goal is I want to read 12 books this summer. I want to do more than just my podcast and work stuff. I want to read. I want to start painting again. Like, I have a whole summer to-do list. But enjoy my interview with Tim and let me know what you think, because I think he's quite amazing and I think it's a gift. I'm not sure if I would want it. Jury's still out, but I guess if my husband does die before me and he comes back and wants to be there, well, I can't tell him to go away. He's there. So enjoy the podcast. Hi, thanks for joining me on the Everything and Anything in a Bit Gay podcast. Today I have an author on my show named Tim, but he's not just any author. He is someone that wrote a book, and there's a huge story behind it, and I can't wait for you to hear it. So welcome to the show, Tim.
Thank you. It's really nice to be here. Nice to meet you.
So you have a very powerful story, and it's got some grief and love and spirituality on it, and I know what inspired the story, but tell my audience what inspired you to write this book. Like, what's the story behind the book?
The story is really pretty long, but when we get to the book, my wife and I were uncommonly close when she was with me physically. And after she passed away, that closeness continued. We were able to be together in an ongoing, loving relationship, and I've been writing about that for the past 5 years. She passed away in 2017. So actually about 2020, we started actually writing together. The story in the book has all sorts of drama in it, from divorces, children leaving us, children joining us. I had a severe injury at one point, spent time in a wheelchair, and that is no longer the case. I live my life with actually no limitations at all.
So can I ask how your wife passed away?
Yeah, she developed gastric cancer, which isn't terribly common in the United States. There's 30 to 50,000 cases a year.
Okay.
When she first developed symptoms, we both actually at that moment knew that she was going to pass away. It took doctors about a year to catch up with that diagnosis. Mm. But we went through chemo. We were going to go through radiation, but the cancer had spread to a point where the radiation wouldn't do any good. So she did pass away, and actually in about a month it will be 9 years.
Wow. So after she passed away, how quickly did you start like realizing that she was still with you?
It took about a week. Actually, we had actually thought that this would be the case, that this would occur. Our lives, through my injury and then her illness, we realized that we actually didn't have to touch each other to communicate. We didn't have to speak out loud to communicate. We had entire conversations over a half hour without ever opening our mouths. We anticipated that she would be with me after she passed. We made no plans on how that would work. So it took about a week. And I actually, the first time I heard her voice, it was audible. I was wearing earbuds listening to an audiobook, and it sounded like somebody was behind me, which was, I didn't expect that. And I kept listening. And then again, I heard the voice, and it was her. And she says, "Where have you been? I've missed you." And from that moment on, we've had ongoing conversations.
Did it scare you at all?
Not at all. Like I said, I expected it to be somehow uh, the way things were, but we
Mhm.
had no idea how it would present itself. Uh, and having, like many people, you kind of expect that you'll receive comfort, something that
Mhm.
but this was like words, exactly what I needed at the moment and ongoing throughout our time that we had together.
And we'll be right back. Okay, and now back to the show. And before she died, you said that you both weren't well and you were able to have conversations for half an hour without even speaking. So do you think it was kind of like telepathy that you were doing in a way, or what do you
I
think
don't
it could
know.
be?
Since she's passed, and since I've spoken to people who actually know about it, they say that in etheric terms, our energy is so intertwined that we're almost one person, one being.
Mm.
So, yes, in a way, that would be an easy way to explain it. But to me, it was just like talking to myself. It, if that makes sense to you at all.
Yeah, it does actually make sense. I mean, I can imagine what you're talking about. It's never happened to me, obviously, but I can imagine like what you are talking about. And whenever it happened the first time, like, did you ask her, are you hearing, like, did you communicate verbally, just kind of confirming that this wasn't
I
something that you heard?
Yeah, I mean, it was deeply emotional to hear her voice. It was only a week since she'd passed.
Yeah.
And I'd spent that week a little frustrated with myself and with her and with us that we hadn't actually made a plan at how it would work. So when it did happen, it was a relief, but it was emotional. I just kind of sat down and just sat with it for a long time.
And what were you talking about? Like, what was your first conversation? I mean, you told me a little bit, but did it comfort you, I guess, to know that she was there?
To know that she was there was incredibly comforting, but I was still in a place where mobility was quite an issue.
Mhm.
Living in the house that we'd shared for several years, I felt comfortable, the most comfortable speaking to her and listening to her outside in the very early morning. So I would go on walks. She would actually kind of call me to come outside. There were too many distractions in the house. Outside was quiet,
Mhm.
starlit, early morning before the sun rises. And the sensation when I would be sitting in the house would be very much like oxygen depleted in the room. There was no oxygen to breathe. Um, my body was heavy and light at the same time. It was like gravity was kind of confused. As soon as I
Mhm.
would go outside, those sensations would normalize. And I would either ask a question. Most frequently, she would start off telling me, um, something that my kids might need in their grief. Uh, but yeah, we had ongoing conversations. One of the first actual things she told me was that I would experience life without pain.
And how did that happen?
About 2 years ago, I dealt with chronic pain, probably till 2023. And one night I went to sleep just in really uncomfortable. To explain, my injury was a weightlifting accident. I destroyed 3 levels of discs in my back.
Oh, wow.
in an instant. I fell doing squats. And through that period of time, there were surgeries, chronic pain, a lot of difficulty moving, a couple of years in a wheelchair. So living my life without experiencing pain didn't sound realistic at all. It was one of those things that my response was kind of, oh yeah, sure. I can believe a lot of it. I can believe I'm talking to you. That's great. But to live my life without experiencing pain, that was just something I couldn't comprehend.
Mm-hmm.
And that over time, the physical pain would ebb and flow. It would deepen and get worse. There would be days I couldn't get out of bed. There would be days that I felt like I could do anything. And so over time, that kind of dissipated to the point where the amount of medication I was on was lessening. I was still experiencing a lot of pain. But one night, it occurred to me that everything she'd said about physical pain was actually accurate. And I just kind of gently accepted it.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to sleep with pretty severe pain. And I woke up the next morning, I was actually making coffee before I realized that I wasn't in pain at all.
And do you think, do you think it's like mind over matter almost in a way, like where you were able to kind of just, your mind was able to kind of cut the pain out in a way? Like, what do you think? What do doctors think?
What I think is I had finally accepted the spiritual principles about how I experience things and my perspective on things. And so it's kind of a spiritual principle to get to physical healing.
Mm.
And yes, it could be mind over matter. But I think it's more of a spirit over matter kind of situation where I accepted the pain and didn't worry about the pain and woke up without it. Now, it took almost 2 years to get off the pain medication because my body just wasn't ready for that.
And have you asked your wife, like, about where she is now? Have you talked to her about her environment that she's in?
The best way I can explain how she speaks about that is because physics are so different in the spiritual realm where she exists, she can be what appears to me everywhere at once. I've talked to her about her teaching class in the spirit realm of people who've just crossed over on how to communicate with their loved ones, how to speak to someone who doesn't believe that that's possible, and how to bring those gentle signs into existence. But for the most part, my experience with her is literally she's with me 24/7. I feel her holding my hand when I fall asleep every single night.
Oh, wow.
If I go on a walk in the cool air, the side that I sense her on is physically warmer.
Has anybody wanted to study what's happening with you or like do research with you on this?
Well, no one's asked me that before, but a great deal of my friends are in the metaphysical space now. Energy healers, psychics, mediums, astrologers, and they all just kind of accept what's happening as the reality of it. It's uncommon, but it's perfectly normal, if that kind of makes sense.
And has anybody else heard her, like your kids or anything? Has anybody else, or is it just because you two had the same energy or connection, that's why you can?
The way my kids experience this is they find themselves doing things that they think their mom would have had them do. In other words, they'll come up to a situation and go, well, what would she have done? And that's what they do. To me, she's kind of guiding them, leading them along in a space where they don't really have a great deal of belief. My friends all talk to her. My medium friends.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'll just say that I've interviewed several psychics and mediums, and it's changed my whole way of thinking since I started the show 2.5 years ago. Because I didn't necessarily not believe in it, but doing this show and meeting with them, I 100% believe in it now. And it's changed my thought about what happens when we die, because whenever we die, I thought you're just put in the ground, you're cremated, and that's it. And now I realize there's a whole afterlife and reincarnation and all that. What was your religious kind of belief growing up, and what is it now?
growing up, I was raised in a very fundamentalist Christian background. So what I'm doing now, best case, there would have been an intervention. Um, there would have been laying of hands on me to try to expel
Yeah.
whatever evil was in me. Um,
Yes.
so when Marilyn and I first came together, it was in such a way that our church kind of booted us out, which was quite a relief. And it gave us space to kind of explore other spiritual avenues. We spent a great deal of time commuting, uh, about anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours each direction. So we did a lot of books on tape, folks like Eckhart Tolle and Neil Donald Walsh, just for a couple. But so we immediately began changing our spiritual belief system to expand. And the first thing we really grasped was that, if God is love, God won't destroy you, then you must live forever. So we figured we were in the middle of a story, not one that would continue on after, one that began well before we were aware of it. So that was kind of the basic belief that we developed, and it kind of created a life where we didn't have anything we feared.
And does it make you not fear dying now that this has happened to you?
Oh, no, I'm not worried about dying at all. If I get in a car wreck, please let it be fatal. I don't want to be maimed again.
Yeah.
I don't want to go through the years and years and years of challenging situations. But no, I'm not afraid of dying at all.
Yeah. I feel the same way. I'm not scared to die. I just am scared about how I'm going to die. Like I'm like you. If I get in a car accident and I don't want to go through and be put on life support and all that stuff. Like I just want to die.
Yeah. I've had enough challenging physical situations that I don't want to deal with that ever again. One of the questions I like to ask people if I do get a chance to speak is, how would your life be different if you knew you didn't die? What would you change?
Yeah.
And that can start a whole round of conversation, about the actual physical things you do in your life every day that are all bound up in some sort of fear. And the ultimate fear is that in 5 minutes, this is all going to end and I won't be able to finish what I'm doing, or I won't have gotten to what I was supposed to do. So it changes your perspective when you start thinking that way.
And is she with other family members or friends that have passed away as well? Like is she with her parents or your parents or whatever? Is she with other people there where she's at?
I've asked her about other people that we knew together physically that have passed, and she'll give me a rundown on how they're doing, whether it's her ex-husband, her law. I don't know that she spends a great deal of time socializing with them. From what I understand, this story and the continuation of the books we're currently writing is what she's focused on primarily.
That's so interesting. So she's helping you create this about what's happening. She's helping you write this.
Yeah. Initially, our conversations mostly occurred on those early morning walks.
Mm-hmm.
But the home that we were in, it was purchased with 2 incomes, and I couldn't afford it, so I moved. And my physical challenges got worse and worse, and I got to the place where I just couldn't go for a while. And so I felt like my access to her was being closed off until one morning, instead of feeling like I had to go outside, I heard very clearly, pick up a blank piece of paper and a pen, just write what you hear. And that's what started I suppose you call them letters that are in the first book and are the basis for the second book and the third book that we're working on now. I've got about 400 of those letters.
Wow.
Just kind of in my filing cabinet. And they talk about everything from, don't drink the milk, it's expired, it's spoiled, don't drink that, to how humanity is moving forward in its existence. So it's a wide range of topics.
Tell me about the humanity, because I would love to know what she means with that, because I think I feel like humanity there's a change happening, and I would love to hear what her thoughts are.
There is a change, but it's not really. I don't know if this will make sense to you. It's not really a physical change; it's a change in awareness.
Mm-hmm.
from her perspective, we're not physical beings on the earth. We're beings of light experiencing being on the earth. And so that awareness of who you are separate from your physical body, that's changing the course of humanity over time. And you'll see that humanity, as you look back on history, has really ebbed and flowed in every direction, but it's generally over time moving towards a better awareness of itself, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. Yeah. I mean, I listen to a lot of podcasts and watch documentaries, and there's so many people coming out and just talking about people just waking up. They're becoming aware of things more, and not everybody understands it, and some people do, and everybody's trying to understand it. But I believe that. I believe that we're, I don't know if it's how information is more easily accessed with the internet now and stuff, so people can share things more easily, or if it's just overall that people are just becoming more aware, and that's just where we are in the time and history of where we are.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. I think the awareness is actually a step towards the understanding that we're all actually one thing with separate perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
If you transition all the way back to what you would call maybe ultimate reality, there's only one of us, but we're experiencing that oneness from your perspective on Earth and my perspective here, my kid's perspective, my neighbor's perspective, and it all builds this understanding of who we really are.
Do your kids ever get frustrated because they wish that they could have the same relationship that you are with her, like meaning that they could have conversations?
No, not really. They pretty much ignore me with this.
Okay, they do.
It's kind of outside their current belief system, and that's okay. We worked very hard at making sure they grew up to be the people they wanted to be. So it excites me to know that they accept me for what I do, but they don't believe it's true.
Oh, really? Huh.
They'll say, "Yeah, you can have your beliefs. I have my own," and that's exactly where I wanted them to be.
And is it a religious reason why they don't necessarily believe?
For the most part,
Okay.
It's just kind of outside their religious beliefs, but they're not upset about it. They accept the whole thing for me, but then again, they don't find it odd that they feel directed by their mother.
Yeah.
So they're kind of in this in between space where they don't accept what I do, but they accept fully that they're being guided and directed by somebody who's not in a physical body.
Yeah. Interesting. Has Marilyn ever told you anything that maybe something that there's no way you would have known it unless she told you? And we'll be right back. Okay, and now back to the show. Has Marilyn ever told you anything that maybe something that there's no way you would have known it unless she told you? Like something that's going to happen. I mean, I guess not having pain is a pretty big one, but is there something in the world that maybe she told you, there's, all the things happening in the world today. Has she ever kind of said, this is coming, or done a prediction for you almost? Or?
Not really. Recently I've kind of adopted this new kind of thinking where it's like something happens, or she tells me something, and the thought is just simply, well, why not? That makes sense to me. Mm-hmm. So she really doesn't surprise me. And oftentimes she's reframed something that maybe we've talked about over the years, or something that we understood while she was still here. She reframes it in such a way that it's like almost new, but it's more like a memory of something we already understood.
And were you meditating or anything before this, or did you start meditating? And does that kind of help? I don't know. For some reason, I feel like meditation is very strong, and I feel like if people did that more, they could maybe connect to people differently. Has that been your experience at all?
Yeah, I think that initially that meditation was in quiet walks in the early mornings, where I was out away from everything other than. It was in on a city street, sidewalks, homes, but to begin with, I would say that that was my form of meditation. Once I understood that I could expand this to be something different, I did try, I've got a meditation practice, but she's very clear because I narrate things in my head. So
Mhm.
if I experience something in meditation, I immediately start talking about it. And that's a good way to dilute the experience. What she's told me is to just reframe a meditation practice into you're practicing at meditation. You're never going to be perfect. And what you experience on Tuesday, you may not experience that again for 3 years, but in between, you'll experience many other things. For me, quieting my mind is just as easy walking outside and watching hummingbirds or the squirrels, ravens around my property. That's just as quieting to my mind as trying to sit still for a period of time and manage or allow thoughts to come and go in a traditional meditative sense. I find it more helpful for me just to find a quiet place and just observe.
And whenever so you said you have medium friends and psychic friends now, what are they saying about this? Are they do that? I'm assuming they must really love it that you're able to do this. And then my other part two of that question is, do you think that you connect with anyone else other than your wife?
To answer part two first, yes, I can. I have done that. I have a friend I met online at one point. His wife had passed away. They've been married for 53 years.
Oh,
And he asked me if I could do a letter from her. And I did. And I sent it off to him. And he came back and said, that's just not her at all. I don't know what this here is. He showed it to his daughter, who said, oh, that's mom exactly.
oh,
So that was one experience. Again, it's back to that little thought. Why not? If I can accept what I'm doing with my wife is real, with Marilyn is real, why not? There's no difference. It's just a matter of recognizing an energetic signature. So yeah, I've had brief conversations with my grandparents, with Marilyn's ex-husband. We were pretty good friends for a while. What was it? Oh, the medium friends. It's kind of funny. So I'm hanging out at a metaphysical event with some of my friends, and they all started laughing. Apparently, Marilyn told them a joke about me that she didn't share with me. They had to share it with me. One of the things they do, if we're all together, and they're in an event, they're doing readings for people who walk in the door. Quite often, they point to me and say, okay, I just helped you talk to your husband. Go find out from him how you can talk to your husband.
yeah. So tell me about that. How are you showing people to do that?
Well, the first step is it works for me because I know it does.
Hmm.
So how do you get from this can't be possible to I know it works? That's the trick.
Hmm.
And often people who have experienced a loss are so deep in their grief that absorbs all of their process. They experience the grief. A friend of mine pointed out that one of the first steps is to move grief to nostalgia. So you've got good feelings mixed in with the negative ones. And then just allow that it might be possible. Just start with it might be possible. Maybe look at a photograph and ask a question.
Hmm.
So you look at a photograph of a deceased person and you ask a question and set it aside and forget about it. And maybe something happens, maybe it doesn't. But if you do that consistently, sooner or later, guaranteed, you'll start to pose the question and you'll be impressed or hear the answer before you finish speaking.
And do you hear it like an audio, or you hear it in your head?
I hear it in my head. It's only been a handful of times where it's been audio. The first time was, and a few times since, where it's just like you almost think, well, did I hear that or did I not? So it's like now that I'm feeling better, I am back out on morning walks, and sometimes I'll hear a voice, and it's definitely audio in the moment. But then after it occurs, it's like, did I hear that or did I just make that? Did I not hear that? Was it just in my mind? And for me, it's come to another just little thought. What difference does it make?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same thing with communicating with your loved ones. So you hear a song on the radio that reminds you of a friend who's passed. Did the song remind you of the friend who's passed, or did the friend send you the song so you'll remember them? And then again, does it matter? You're together at this moment now. That was the whole point of the exercise of hearing the song, was to bring you to that moment when you actually are in communication. And that communication may just be an emotion. It may even be a moment of feeling a loss, but it's the beginning steps of that formal communication.
Yeah, I was taking mediumship classes for about a year and a half, and I was able to do it. But what happened to me, which the person that was teaching me how to do mediumship basically said this was common, because I was sleeping. I was at home alone, and I heard somebody scream my name so loud, like as if the house was burning down, like yelling my name. Woke me up, I was not dreaming, woke me up from a dead sleep. And when I went to my mediumship class, he said, that's common. Once you start opening your mind, those things would happen. It was my father. That's whose voice it was. And I wish I could do and I'm open to it. I wish I could figure out how to do what you're doing with my father. I think that would be just so amazing.
I think the difference, at least the way I understand it, is like that progression of hope to belief to knowing. Those people who are really gifted mediums, they absolutely know. They don't question in the moment, and they just speak. I think that everybody has this ability.
So do I. Yeah.
That's just part of your being. Not everybody knows they have the ability, and everybody's somewhere in absolute denial to full-on knowing. And where you fall in that line determines your experience.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about trying to do classes or teach people more about this?
I have recently. I've been asked to start working on a workshop that actually blends the style of communication that I have with Marilyn and the spiritual principles I've learned into actual physical healing.
Wow.
So it's spiritual principles of physical healing.
And what does she say about the life that you're living now? Is she happy with how you are in the physical world today? Does she tell you she would like to see you change something? I mean, you're more healthy now because you're not having the pain anymore. So that must make her very happy. But is there anything that she ever says, I wish you were doing this, or I wish you were doing that more? Or does she ever give you guidance or advice?
She gives me guidance, but it's not, I wish you would do that or wish you would do this. It's like, if you would open your eyes a little bit more, there's another step you can take. And she's very careful about not spilling the beans on my future. Because
and do you think she knows
her
it?
estimation, yeah, absolutely. Future is kind of a funny thing because I have input on what occurs.
Mm-hmm.
But there's like infinite possibilities, but the general direction is kind of like a weather report.
Yeah.
You know it's going to rain, but you just don't know how much. So that's kind of what the future is from her perspective. But as far as what's going on in my life right now, the best description of her attitude is giddy. I mean, she's just ecstatic. But she will not steal the joy of my personal experience of the journey by telling me exactly what the steps are to get to where she knows I'll be.
Has she ever slipped a little bit and told you something that maybe was about the future that maybe you shouldn't have known, but you got it out of her?
No, she has told me things that I prefer not to have known.
Okay. What's an example of that?
Like writing a book. I'm a pretty private person, and I had this stack of letters that were from her, and that was my experience. It was just the two of us, just very much like it was in physical life. Other people were aware, but it was her and my interaction that was the thing that I really, really enjoyed. Once I started to realize that this was more than that, I spoke to a medium, and she immediately, the first words out of the first medium I ever talked to was, "There's going to be at least 6 books."
Oh,
And it was like, no, I'm private. This is just my thing. I've come to you to make sure I'm not crazy, that this is really occurring in my life. And, oh, yes, it's really occurring, but it's going to be a public thing. And Marilyn has said that over and over and over. It's just like, one of the things she says, you may swear you're lip syncing, but you're the one on stage, you're the physical presence of this. So just get on with it.
when does your next book come out? So you have one book out now. Your book is on Amazon. It's called Ever Near, and I'll put a link for anybody that wants to purchase this in the description of this podcast or video if they're watching
Great.
this, so they can go out to Amazon and get it. And what is your plans for the next book? When do you think you'll release the next one?
The next book is working its way through Balboa Press, their editing process. I'm not sure what the release date is. The title for this one is Wisdom from Beyond the Veil, a series of life lessons on grief and healing. And then we're currently working on our third. So that book is done, and it's kind of out of my hands, and I don't know when it will land, probably summer. The next one we're working on is Out of Injury, Illness, and Loss into Healing.
Awesome. I mean, you've got to, I think what you're putting out there is great. I think it will really help certain people feel better about losing someone and stuff. And maybe they'll be able to get to where you are, to be able to communicate, which would be fantastic. So I think it's amazing what you're doing.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much for being on. I will put the link to your book in the description so people can go out and get it. And anything that you'd want to kind of tell my audience before we end the interview that you would think that they should know?
I've been asked a couple of times one question over and over again as I do this. Is what is the most profound thing she's ever said? Yeah. What is the most profound thing? And I struggled with that, out of 400 pages and literally thousands, or 400 documents, thousands of pages. How can I pick just one? And so I finally kind of did what I should have done. I asked her what she thought. And she said, and it's a quote coming out of the upcoming book, it's like, my body died. I did not. You are not alone.
Oh. It's got to be so comforting knowing that she's there, like I wish more people had that.
Yeah, it really is. It's an amazing thing. The thing of it is first of all, my first question when this started happening was this normal? And I've adjusted that thinking to not normal versus not normal. That's kind of a negative positive, but common. Is it common versus uncommon? This is kind of uncommon, but it's completely normal.
Do you think it will become more common as we expand our thinking?
I do. I do. I think if you look at where our culture was in Western culture was 100 years ago, this is much more acceptable.
Oh, yeah.
Than it was then.
Well, I think your story is amazing, like I said, and I'm actually going to order your book right when we end this call because I can't wait for your next book to come out after that. I think it's fantastic, and I'm so glad that you're sharing your story with people so they can maybe get a little bit of comfort from your story as well. Thanks for being on, and if this episode resonated with you, share it with somebody that you know, and thanks again for being on, Tim.
Thank you so much.